Hi everyone, Adam with Intectel here with another quick tech tip. And today I want to talk about using a router provided by your internet service provider or something other than a router that you purchase on your own. And I want to talk about why using your internet provider's router is bad for a couple of different reasons. First and foremost, let me preface this by saying that your internet provider probably doesn't have top quality or performance or security in mind when they buy these routers from manufacturers en masse. You'll probably notice that you rarely see a router or a modem that comes from a brand name company, and they're typically off brands like UB or Sagem.com or something like that. You will occasionally see Aris, which is a very, very big name in modems and routers, very good quality, but they're typically detuned. So, for using a router in your business, I want to discuss some pitfalls and why you might not want to use your provider's router, even if it's just a $5 a month or even included piece of equipment in your business's network. The first of which, besides the quality, is that if let's say the provider decides to push a software update out to all these modems, there's a possibility that during that firmware update, all of the custom settings and features that you've put in to this device that you're renting or you've received from your carrier, they can get deleted. So if you have port forwarding rules that your IT person or you have put in, things like static routes, DMZ hosts, all sorts of stuff. You've changed your IP to something non-standard, so something other than 192.168.1.1 or 0.1 or so on. Those can get completely wiped out. So you come into work, nothing works. You call the internet provider, they tell you everything looks good on their end, the internet's up, the internet's running. You make a call to the IT guy, he has you go through some basic steps, looks like the internet's working. So it results in a little bit of confusion until it clicks for whoever is helping you that, okay, all these settings are off. So something like a surveillance system or a server or some other service may stop working that depended on those rules. That's an important one, especially if you have more than just a few computers on your network. The second one that I want to talk about is just in terms of raw security. The firewall that comes with these providers' routers is fairly simple. Not a lot of rules in it. Certainly doesn't have any IPS or IDS, intrusion detection and intrusion prevention rules. More or less, it's just going to be really basic SYN attack or DOS or distributed DNS attack defense services or something of that nature. Very, very basic. Not something that you'd want to protect your business with, especially if you deal with HIPAA or CPI or PCI data. It would be important to look into something such as a managed firewall. If you deal with any of those things, I strongly recommend a managed service that has intrusion prevention systems that can support a managed DNS service and gives you a better ability to provide reporting as far as what's coming in and what's going out. And that's something that provider equipment lacks in functionality, is definitely the logging. So having a robust firewall today, if you've read anything in the news, you haven't been living under a rock for the last week, you've heard about these hacks that have happened. Now, these hacks that have happened, they're the result of massive nation state attacks. Nothing that any firewall in the world necessarily would have defended against. But for your run of the mill ransomware attacks, things like that, your firewall is a very, very key part of the defense strategy in any cybersecurity scenario. So having something that it's a little more robust really helps you have that peace of mind and protects you. The effectiveness of these pieces of equipment and their ability to process data, especially when you start to scale with more than 5-10 devices on your network, is going to be limited with a provider's router or firewall or modem all in one combo unit there. So you're going to see performance decreases as the number of devices on your network increases. Essentially what it boils down to is having a basic processor that can only address so many functions at once. With these all-in-one units, the DHCP server, the DNS server, the Wi-Fi is all one unit. That means that the processing resources for all of these things has to be shared. The larger your network gets, the more messages are being sent back and forth between the devices, not only on your network, but to the outside world, to the websites that you're communicating with, the services that you use. What goes on behind the scenes in a router is so much more than just getting on Wi-Fi, and you go to a website and that's the end of it. There are constantly messages being sent back and forth between you and the public internet. Microsoft Windows, for example, has what's called telemetry data that's sent to their servers, whether you know it or not, that communicates information about your system, not necessarily personal details, but about the update status of the system, the location data, different demographics, simple information that just allows Microsoft to monitor the amount of Windows devices out in the field, what they're doing, and what kind of systems they reside on. So that's just an example of those kinds of messages. There's thousands of these messages that fly in and out every second. And the more devices you have, the more computing resources it takes to manage those messages effectively, which means as that gets loaded up, you begin seeing issues with performance in your Wi-Fi and wired networks. So there's just a few different reasons why you may want to consider looking at something other than your provider's equipment, especially if you're running a business and even if you are just a simple home user. If you have questions, Tectel does offer managed and unmanaged networking solutions and would be more than happy to come by and give you a free quote and a free estimate as to what it would take to get into something more robust that can help protect and serve your business for years to come. It's Adam with Tectel with a quick tech tip. Thanks for your time. Have a good one and Merry Christmas.